Hi guys, hope you're all well. Welcome back to ICG. Today I've got a real treat for you. I'm going to be making one of my favourites, Greek Spanakopita, and I'm going to be serving it with a lovely homemade tzatziki. And the best part, it's going to be made in the air fryer. These little Greek spinach feta pies are a perfect snack or starter. They're crispy, they're golden, totally delicious, and you don't even have to turn on the oven. So if you like that classic flaky casing and that lovely cheese filling, this one is definitely for you. Let's get cooking. We're going to start by making our filling, and there are a couple of cooking elements to this part. So I've got a pan here, medium heat, just a touch of olive oil, not too much. And here I've got a quarter of a red onion, which I've finely diced. Get that in. And then to that, I've got some garlic cloves here. I've actually got 3 garlic cloves, which I've crushed, but I'm only going to use half of that because I want to save some for our tzatziki, and that's perfect. And we just want to soften this down, so just give it a little stir through and let that do its thing. While it's doing that, we can turn our attention to the spinach. So I'm going to see you over at the sink because we need to wilt it down. Okay, so for the spinach, this is the easiest way I find to do it. I've got a whole bag of spinach. You know what spinach is like, it doesn't go very far. So I just want to get that all into my colander. Just make sure it's all in there. And then I've got here a kettle of boiling water, and just gently sort of pour it on. And as you're doing it, just turn it with your tongs, being careful not to scald yourself. That's it, perfect. Now we just need to let that cool down before we squeeze it out. Okay, so I've just checked the spinach, it's cool enough to touch now, so you just want to gather it up and really just squeeze all of that water out of it. You don't want that in there because otherwise it's going to make our filling and our filo pastry soggy. Okay, so our spinach is ready, it's nicely cooled. Our onions are now nicely softened, but I do need to let these cool. So whilst it's doing that, I'm going to clear the decks, and I'll see you in a second when we can start to bring together our filling and make up our lovely spanakopita. Okay, so we're ready to start building. I mean, you don't get a lot of spinach. It always amazes me. From that one pack, that's all we've got left. And I do just need to just chop it down a little bit. We want to make sure there's lots of nice little bits of it through our little filo parcels. You don't want big lumps of it, otherwise it's not going to go very far, especially when you only end up with that amount. So that is good. Okay, let's bring in a bowl and we can start pulling this together. So I'll go straight in with my spinach. I'm just going to give that a little wipe down. Now, of course, importantly in any spanakopita is your feta cheese. And I've got a whole block of it here, obviously ready available at any supermarket. And you just want to crumble that in to your bowl. Again, with this mixture, guys, the great thing is you can do this ahead of time. So you can make this 1 or 2 days ahead. So actually, if you've got people coming over or you just want to get ahead of the game and have it as a dinner one night, you could do this ahead of time. So all you've got to really do is fill up your pastry and put it in the air fryer. You can cook this in the oven, obviously, but this is a lot quicker and a lot easier. That's it. That's our feta in. Just wipe my hands down. And here I've got our onions. Let's get those in as well. That's it. You can flavour this with whatever you like. This is the way I like to flavour mine, but there's lots of different ways you can do it. I'm going to add some here, pine nuts. Now, pine nuts are expensive at the moment. They've rocketed in price. I did find these in the cupboard and I love pine nuts. And I thought, well, I'm going to use them. So they're going to go in. It's probably about a couple of tablespoons there. Another important one is dill. I'm using dried. Use fresh if you've got it. But dried is going to be a little bit stronger. So you probably won't need as much of it. You'll need more if you're using the fresh. But I love dill. But I want to keep a little bit back for our tzatziki. I like to add a bit of oregano. Size of this, TK Maxx, £1. Brilliant value. And I use a lot of it, as you'll probably know if you watch the channel. That's it. So a good amount of oregano. I want a little bit of lemon zest. Again, optional. You don't have to do it, but I like that little kick of the lemon in there. Only going to use about half of that lemon. I don't need tons. That's it. Perfect. and then salt and pepper. And I don't want too much salt because the feta tends to be naturally quite salty. And our cracked black pepper. And a good few turns of that pepper mill in here. That's it. And then spoon, and just give it all a good mix. What I'm going to probably need to add is a little bit of olive oil. I just want to see how this comes out first. Yeah, I think definitely you want the mix to sort of stick together a little bit. This looks a little bit dry. So just a touch of olive oil. I'm just using a standard olive oil, not extra virgin. That should do us nicely. That's it, get that all mixed in. So I'm just going to clear this away and then I'll bring the filo in. We can start stuffing these and then get them in the air fryer. Okay, so I'm all cleaned down. Let's bring in the filo. So this is the just roll. You might recognise this because it was on my last video. It's because I'm filming this on the same day. So I'm using the leftover filo so I don't waste it, which is why I'm doing this recipe today. So let's get that out. It's still perfect. It's not dried out or anything like that. I've kept it in the fridge. That's it. And what you want to do with this is we want to slice this into sort of lengths. So I'm going to bring you overhead so you can see exactly how I do it. Okay, so I'm making these into quite small ones. If you want big boys, you could just slice it straight down the middle there and make them bigger. But I'm making smaller ones today. So I want this in probably sort of 3 sections. So straight down. Probably not as even as it could be, but there we go. Okay, and I'm just going to stack these like that and like that. Okay, and we'll shift it round that way. To make your spanakopitas, you're going to want obviously a little bit of your filling. Just make sure you can see that. Again, you don't want to overfill these, especially because these are smaller ones. You can see how that's now sort of sticking nicely together. And you get a corner. You could do a couple of sheets if you want to. Fold it over like that. Again, that way. You just keep going and it will encase. Just pull it in if it goes a little bit off. Don't worry if the wrapper has a tear in it like this one. That's absolutely fine. It's going to be wrapped all the way around. You've got plenty of filo pastry here to go around. And there we go. 1 mini spanakopita. I'm going to carry on making up the rest of these, so I'll see you shortly. We can coat them in a little bit of oil and then get them into the air fryer and cook them up. Okay, so I got 12 out of that mix. I could have got 14. I've got some more mix left, so I will keep it, but I'd run out of filo pastry. I'm not going to do all of these up now. We're going to eat some later, so I'm just going to oil a few up, obviously, for the purposes of this video. Just get a bit of oil on there. Some people oil the layer, so they'll put oil on the inside. So before you put the filling in, they'll put some oil on the pastry as well, especially if you're doing multi-layers of filo pastry, but we're not today, so I don't think it calls for it. So I just like to do the outside. Okay, so that's it. What I will say, guys, obviously with the ones, if you're doing it this way and you're not using all of them now, put them on a plate, a damp cloth over them, and just put them in the fridge and they'll be absolutely fine till a bit later on. Anyway, I'll see you over at the air fryer. Let's get these cooking, and while they're cooking, we can crack on with making our tzatziki. So these just need to go straight on your grill plates on the air fryer, space them out nice and evenly. And we're gonna cook at 200 for between 8 to 10 minutes. Again, as I always say, everyone's air fryer is slightly different, so just keep an eye on it. Yours may burn quicker or slower. Okay, so for the tzatziki, really straightforward. Cucumber, again, with all of these things, just adjust the quantities depending on how much of this you want. Again, this will keep in the fridge a good 2 to 3 days, basically as long as the life expectancy on your yogurt probably. Just grate it up. That's it, perfect. Get it all out, get rid of that. And you're gonna need, I've done it onto some kitchen roll, but the good thing about this, I don't have to wash it and I can throw it away. And just sort of wrap it up. What we want to do is get all of the water out of that cucumber. So just give it a good squeeze. This stuff works pretty well. it's just really so much water that comes out of the cucumber. And that's probably us done. Bring in a bowl, get your cucumber into said bowl. Anything with the kitchen roll is it does stick to it a touch, but you don't want any of the kitchen roll bits in it, and that's a big bit of cucumber, which I don't want, but that's pretty good right there. Squeeze of lemon. If you want to put lemon zest in as well, want it more lemony, you could do that. That's that. Wipe my hands. We save some of those crushed garlic cloves, so that's going to go in as well. I want a dash of olive oil, not too much. And then our herbs, the dill of course, and I'm almost out, but I'll get that in there. And then here I've got some dried mint as well. It's only about half a teaspoon. If you don't like mint, leave it out. You could replace it with parsley, be absolutely delicious as well. Some cracked black pepper. Good few turns, a little bit of salt. I don't want it too salty, so just a few turns on that. And then, of course, your Greek yogurt. So just stir it around. That's it. Now, I like mine quite cucumbery, so I don't tend to add too much of the yogurt. But just give it all a good mix around. And there we have it. One tzatziki, simple as that. How quick was that? Get that into a nice little dish there. Perfect. So I'm going to go and get our spanakopitas out of the air fryer, wipe this down, and I'll see you in a second when we can give it a try and see how we've done. So there we have it, my Greek air fryer spanakopita and homemade tzatziki. Smells and looks delicious. Couple of things. First thing was, actually mine took 9 minutes in that air fryer at 200, but I was using a Megazone. I think if you've got a single drawer air fryer, it's probably going to take between 7 and 8 minutes. The other thing I forgot to mention, so my apologies, was turn them halfway. You want to make sure they're evenly crisp. Anyway, that's it. Housekeeping done. Let's give this a try. I'm going to try it first. I've cut one in half because they were so hot and I don't want to burn my mouth. So I'm going to try one first without the tzatziki. Nice and crispy. The flavours. Everything is singing its own little song in there. The spinach, the cheese, got a little pine nut there as well. The onions, the lemon zest, everything. They are sensational. Honestly, I could be in Greece. I'm sure the Greeks, though, they'd be deep frying these bad boys. Won't be using the old air fryer. Let's have a bit with that tzatziki. Just rounds it off beautifully. They are knock out the park, 10 out of 10 good. You must try these. Pretty straightforward. I know there are a few steps involved, the frying of the onion, dealing with the spinach, but apart from that, hopefully you've seen how easy this is to make, and it's an absolute delight to eat. I can't wait to finish off the rest of these. Guys, that's it from me for today. If you like the content, I'd really appreciate you subscribing. Please do also like, share and comment. If you try this, let me know. If you've got a variation of it, please do let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'll put all of the details of my air fried Greek spanakopita and homemade tzatziki down below in the description as always. And all that's left for me to say is until next time, it's cooking good.